evening, everybody. Welcome to this Independence Day special episode of Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in the Midlothian region of southeast Scotland. And of course, Scotland is the capital of literally everything, and maybe even should be the capital of the United States once again. I'm kidding. You know, I'm saying that in jest. Absolutely. Anyways, I hope everybody is doing well and has had a great start to their week. We had really good turnout on Sunday. Considering I really kind of largely forgot to advertise the show on Sunday, we actually got like 25 or so people here, which was really, really great. Like I said, considering I forgot to kind of advertise it really, until like 5 minutes before the show. But it was really, really good. And of course, last week we had Joe Gilder on Songwriting Simplified. It was really great talking to him. And I know most of you already know Joe, but it was just, for me personally, it was just nice to have him on my show, on my channel, and basically, you know, introduce him to my audience. And that was just really cool. It's something that he and I have been talking about literally for years to do. Joe and I go back a long way, probably nearly 12 years, I would say, because I met Joe through Graham Cochran, who is also a good friend of mine. And so around about the same time, I met Graham, and then very shortly after I met Joe, because Graham, I think, probably thought that Joe and I would be a good connection. And so it was. And I listened to his podcast, and like we talked about last week, and the rest is kind of history. But yeah, so it was great to have him on my show, and I do have other guests that I am trying to line up for future shows. So if there is anybody in particular that you think would be great for this show as a guest, and please do suggest it. Let me know. Email me. The address is down the bottom there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. Email me. Let me know what your thoughts are about, future guests for the show. I would certainly like to get Mike Enjo from Studio One Revealed on this show. He is a new friend of mine, but I think it'd be really great to get him on here. And I also want to get Rich Cresswell back on the show as well. He's been on a couple of times, but it'd be really nice to get him back on here. And of course, Jonny Gibe. It'd be great to have Jonny back on the show, seeing as he and I basically started this show together way back in 2017. So it would be nice to see if we can actually get him either on this show or on the Sunday show. Kind of depends upon his work schedule, but I'm certainly going to try. And like I said, if you guys can think of anybody else that would be really good, Andy Barr, yes, he is on my list. I've already spoken to Andy, actually, and so that is something that is definitely in the works. Hopefully, we'll get him on the show soon. Again, I have to kind of work around his work schedule, and we'll kind of see what we can do with that. But yes, Andy Barr would be fantastic. He's a great young guy, and his channel, Producing the Box, is really, really good. So if just to take a pause and briefly plug his channel, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, his channel is really, really good, and there's some great tutorial content over there to go and check out. He and I don't at all work in the same genre of music at all. He's into much kind of heavier rock. I'm into rock. I play rock. I'm mostly a jazz guy, but I as a professional musician, I play anything from rock through pop, through jazz, through gospel, and orchestral. I've played in orchestras as well. But yeah, Andy's kind of into music that is not really my bag at all. But he's a really great guy, and he really knows his stuff. So it'd be great to get him on a show as well. Let me just straighten my chair up because it's getting a little bit annoying. Okay, so tonight's show is going to be a wee bit interactive. Because I thought Independence Day is coming up in the United States. And although I am not American, I have American family. And I'm fairly sure that they will be celebrating Independence Day. So I kind of been thinking about that and thinking about kind of like the birth of a nation. That's kind of what it got me to. Technically, the United States was already a nation like for centuries before, white people from Europe came along. But kind of, it was then a British colony and a little bit French as well. Down the south was a wee bit French, and you had Spanish people as well. But then, kind of after the War of Independence and the British left and went back across the Atlantic and said, we'll keep our cricket, thank you very much. We'll give you some of our laws, and we'll give you some of our, some of our quirks, but not all of them. I mean, you thankfully don't have that many roundabouts, which I'm very happy about. But I started thinking about, kind of the birth of a nation, the start of a country, and things that you think about. And I started thinking about, I don't know how I kind of drew this connection, but I started thinking about national anthems. I know, kind of an obscure wee thing, but I thought about this and I thought, okay, what if we were to imagine that tonight we are going to create a new country, an imaginary country. All right, let's just say we all clubbed together and we all decided, let's buy that island over there in the South Pacific, for example. Preferably not one that's going to be in the pathway of cyclones and hurricanes and typhoons, but that island over there, nonetheless, is kind of, we've all clubbed together and we've bought this island. And I don't even know what name this island is going to have. So, we could kind of suggest something and kind of agree on that. But I started thinking, wouldn't it be great if we started to think about, okay, so now that we've got this group of people that have formed a country, we've got land of our own. So how about we develop a national anthem? And so I started thinking, okay, what are the core ingredients for a national anthem? And it's kind of like, what I would like to hear is what you guys think should be the core ingredients of a national anthem. And then I thought, okay, after we've had this discussion, if we've still got some time left in the show, maybe we could start actually writing it into Studio One. I thought that might be quite a fun thing for us all to do. And of course, I'm going to be taking your comments and I'm basically going to do what you guys tell me to do. So if you guys have an idea for some chord changes, if you have ideas for kind of the style, and by style I don't mean jazz, funk, rock, pop, heavy metal, death metal, doom metal, industrial. I'm not really thinking about genres specifically. I'm thinking about the core ingredients that make up a national anthem. So start thinking about, wherever you are in the world, your national anthem. So if you're in the United States, you're going to start thinking about the Star Spangled Banner, right? If you're in Australia, you're going to start thinking about Waltz and Matilda. And if you're, if you're here in the UK, there are several anthems to choose from because we are a United Kingdom of 4 nations. So we've got the English national anthem, which is Jerusalem. We've got the Scottish national anthem, O Flower of Scotland. I forget what the Welsh national anthem is, which is embarrassing, but it's gone out of my brain. So start thinking about national anthems that you're familiar with, and you can start thinking about, other national anthems from other countries that you are familiar with. So let's say, what about the German national anthem? What about the French national anthem? What about different national anthems from around the world? And start thinking about what are the core ingredients that all of these anthems have in common. And they're all very, very different. Like the French national anthem is very different from the German one and is very different from the official United Kingdom national anthem. And again, the Star Spangled Banner is very different from the United Kingdom national anthem, God Save the King. So, what are these core ingredients musically that make these anthems work and invoke, the patriotism and the love for one's country and all of that? So that's kind of what I want to get at. Brett says the Isle of Tunateria. There we go. All right, so we are officially the Isle of Tunateria, according to Brett Marler. So we could have that. And Kyle is being mischievous and is tossing a firecracker under my chair. Thank you very much for that. Fortunately, this chair is firecracker proof. So let's start getting into the chat your ideas. Because I want to hear what you guys are thinking about. What you guys are thinking are some of these core ingredients. And certainly we can talk about lyrics for sure. But, what about the music? When you start thinking about, the German national anthem. Da, 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 da. What is it about that invokes such pride for Germans in their country, about that melody? What is it about that melody? Because it's not strident like the French one is. Dun 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 dun. So they're kind of quite different. French very strident. The German one is a bit more evocative, a bit more. It really tugs, especially as you get further into the melody of the national anthem. But I believe it was written by Beethoven. So it has much more of an emotional stirring to it. Whereas the French one is very proud, it's very strident, very strong, and it's got a strong kind of quarter note pulse to it. And it's got that dotted rhythm to it, which the German anthem doesn't. It has a much more legato melody to it. So, and then of course you've got the UK national anthem, which I've done, I think, probably about 3 or 4 different arrangements of in my lifetime, including a modal arrangement, which was really fun to do, which I wrote for a big band, because we were playing for I forget which anniversary it was of the Queen's coronation. I'm trying to think which one it was. But I think it was 2012. It was around that time, and so I wrote this for a big band to kind of celebrate the Queen. I thought, let's do a fresh arrangement of the national anthem. So I did this modal thing, which is really quite cool. It's it still features the same melody, except it's just a little bit different. That's basically how it went for the most part. So let's have your thoughts. Let's have your ideas. Let's see what we got here. Billy's saying, then share stems and let the group expand or add to it. I could certainly do that, maybe. 3-4, played by an Oompa band. Now, that could be interesting. Aurora's Boring Alice says, bacon, a flag made of bacon. Now, that is an idea this Jewish boy could get behind. Harmonic major scale, okay. Brett says, fairly slow in tempo, major key, simple melody with lots of half and quarter notes. Okay, so what you're suggesting there is it needs to be singable. Yes, that's definitely a key ingredient. Needs to be singable. Perhaps an anthem that everyone forgets the lyrics. There are anthems like that all around the world where the lyrics are easily forgotten. For example, who knows the other two verses of God Save the King? And yes, in fact, there are 4 verses of God Save the King, but there's a verse that nobody ever sings. Very good reason, but nobody ever sings it. If you're from the UK, if you know why that verse is never sung, please say so in the chat. See if you know that one. Let's see. Melody covers 2 octaves that very few can sing. Yes, so it's got to be hummable. Hummable, singable. It's got to be memorable. So, you know, the thing like the French national anthem is it's definitely a memorable melody. And the same with the German one. The thing I don't like about the UK national anthem, and I know that there are very proud British people in my chat tonight. I know that. So I'm going to be careful about what I say. But I'm speaking purely from a musical point of view. God Save the King is a little bit dirgy. It just is. You know, if I was to compare God Save the King to Jerusalem, which is the English national anthem, Jerusalem has a far more interesting melody. Far more interesting melody. You know, the UK one is... It doesn't even have the blue note in there. I just had to add that in there because it's such a dirty little melody. But notice the range. It doesn't go very high. It goes... That is the range of the melody. I'm doing it in the key of C, but it's not really in the key of C, it's in the key of G. But I'm doing it in C, just because I can. And it's my show. But basically just has a range of a major 6, so it's not really that high, you know. And it does a very, very clear, you know. It does a very, very clear, you know. It does an absolutely really clear 2-5-1 at the end. Which I'm jazzing up very, very slightly. But it does a very clear 2-5-1 at the end, so everyone knows kind of when that is all kind of finished. Let's see. South Pacific thing, fancy steel drum. Oh yeah, we could do something like that. Something along the lines of Fanfare for the Common Man, more modern. Yes, I like Fanfare for the Common Man. I think it's a fantastic melody as well. Brett says 3 verses of Star Spangled Banner as well, but no one ever sings them. Yeah. I think, you know, in both cases, it's like we only sing the first verse. Everybody knows the first verse, and then that's kind of it, because, you know, that's all you tend to sing at functions, you know, at ceremonial functions like the King's birthday, or, you know, some other public event that the King is in attendance at. We just sing just the first verse, and that's it. That's the end of it. Just Bob says, isn't the national anthem of the USA borrowed from an old song from England? That is correct. It is based on an old English folk song. And so I think that's really quite interesting that even to this day, and even as we're celebrating, certainly tomorrow, the United States will be celebrating Independence Day from the British, and yet your national anthem in the United States is based on an English folk melody, which is actually, I believe it's not just a folk melody, it's a hymn. It's actually a hymn from, I think it's from the Anglican hymnal, I believe. If I'm correct on that, I think I am. So let's see. What are the four chords that are mostly played in many songs? Well, that's going to be 16251 or 16451. So we could certainly base our new anthem on that for sure. The U.S. national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key. That is correct. It was, but it's based on the melody of an English hymn. So let's face it, one verse is enough. All of them anthems are a bit boring. There are actually, you say that, but there are some anthems that have really interesting melodies. If you watch the Olympics on TV, this is one way to get to hear lots of national anthems from lots of different countries. Let's say the Japanese take the gold medal in, I don't know, the 4x100. It's never going to happen. The Japanese are just not. They might qualify for the finals, but they won't win. They just don't. The Japanese never win the 4x100 relay. But let's just say they did somehow. They somehow won that. You would get to hear the Japanese national anthem. And it is actually a really, really interesting melody. It's not your typical kind of anthemic melody. It doesn't move in stepwise motion. It's a much more interesting melody than that. Brett says, the lyrics were Francis Scott Key. Yes, the music was added later. Yeah. So, in fact, if I'm right, the lyrics, the Francis Scott Key is actually a poem. It wasn't actually technically a song. It is a poem that was set to music that became the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. Now, the interesting thing about the Star Spangled Banner is it's mostly a stepwise motion melody, but here's the thing. It has lots of modulations. It does go from the tonic to dominant and back again. And it does that a few times. But it does also go to other keys and then comes back home again. It's from that point of view, it's very, very interesting. Because the modulation from the tonic to the dominant is very obvious. You hear what they call the preparation note very clearly. What do I mean by preparation note? Because that's kind of a music theory thing. What do I mean by that? So, for example, if you're in the key of C major and your melody is based around those notes. The preparation note is going to be the leading tone that leads you into the key of G major. So the dominant being G because it's based on chord 5. So chord 5, count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the dominant, okay? And the dominant always takes you back to the tonic. So given that this Star Spangled Banner, I believe, was written sometime in the 1850s, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be very much based in late classical, early romantic, it's still very much in the tonic, dominant, major, minor tonal system of the kind of early romantic period. So that being the case, it would use the leading tone. So what do I mean by the leading tone? So if we take the G major scale, we have an F sharp in that scale, which we don't have in the C major scale. We've got that F sharp. So this is the leading tone that leads you into the tonic of G major, right? Which also happens to be the third of chord 5 in G. So when I say the preparation note, I mean this note crops up a few times before you get to the key of G major. So if we were in C, you would see things like this. We've just modulated by the A over C sharp to D to the key of G major. So now we're in the key of G major, and the leading tone was in the melody line there, the F sharp. All right, so and then you go. And now you're back in the key of C major. All right, that's me totally improvising a kind of anthemic kind of melody. Hymns do that a lot, which is why the Star Spangled Banner is kind of like has very much a hymn-like melody to it. So it does that kind of quite a bit, and there are other anthems that do that. The UK national anthem doesn't do that at all. It doesn't modulate. It's really straightforward. It kind of goes harmonically to the dominant, but it never actually goes to the key of the dominant. It just goes to the dominant chord, which is where you get, you know, and then you get, and now we're on the dominant here. We're on the G7 chord. And we're back to the tonic there. And then you get this big dominant chord here. And so that's kind of, you know, and that's actually a temporary modulation to chord 4 there, actually. It's not chord 5, which is what I said, you know. Because that goes to chord 4. And then we get, so it's actually quite clever little harmony in the UK national anthem there. But so let's see. Bobby Biz says our flag has the same colors. All right. Any other suggestions? Because I would really like to put together something that's anthemic that is based on your suggestions. So I'm going to create a new song. First of all, I'm going to close this one. So I have a few songs open at the moment. So let's go to the start page and let's go new blank song. Okay, there we go. And we will go to there. Put me in at the top there. All right, so we have our blank new song. So we're going to need something, an instrument. So maybe we'll have an audio track for a bit of the piano. So we'll call this piano. And this is going to be input right. No, input right, I said. There we go. And I'm all ready now to kind of do kind of what you are suggesting. So you're talking about 3/4. Okay, let's do something in 3/4. So we just change the timing. There we go. So let's set that to 3/4. And let's drop the tempo down so it's a little bit more anthemic. Let's say 80 beats a minute. Let's try that. Okay, so we could do chord 1 to chord 4 to chord 5. So let's have a key first. What are we going to do it in? Because I mean, we could do it in G major. G major's all right. I don't know. I'm just kind of making it up. But certainly 3/4 I like the sound of. We could certainly do that. And chord 1 and 4 and 5. Okay, yeah, we could certainly do 1, 4, and 5. And maybe once we've worked out what the melody is, we could put that in the French horn. Yep, I like the sound of that too. So anyone not happy with G major, we could change that. We could go to E flat major. E flat's always nice. We could do E flat. E flat's nice because E flat's nice is it's warm and it's welcoming. It's that kind of a key. I like it. D major is also quite nice. You know, just the half step below that. Something like that. D major kind of sounds all right. Brett says E flat and B flat are friendlier in most voices. Yes, they are. F sharp major. That would be hard to sing. F sharp major would be kind of hard to sing. So how about let's do this in E flat, because I kind of like E flat. It's kind of nice and warm. And then we just need to kind of, so we're definitely going with 1, 4, and 5. I think 1, 4, and 5 works, and we could just do the whole thing out of 1, 4, and 5. So Something like that. I'm not as you can tell, I'm not very good at this type of piano playing. I suck at this type of piano playing. Give me some bebop, no problem. Give me some jazz funk, no problem. Give me some fusion, no problem. This style is not my bag. But I'm going to try and record something in E flat and find a melody line, and then I'm going to try and pick that out on something like a French horn, and we can start to flesh this out in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. Yes, F sharp major does sound lovely. I personally like F sharp major, but it is really actually genuinely a bitch to sing in, that's for sure. All right, so let's see what I can come up with. Let me just make sure that I have set my pre-count because I want my pre-count. Now, this could be interesting. Something like that. That might be a little bit crap, but we will see. It's also a little bit on the slow side. A little bit dodgy. And of course, we've sped that up so badly it sounds absolutely fecking horrendous. So I will record that again. Or at least I will try to. Let's see. I have to try and remember what I did now. That was not how it should go. Fuck. Excuse my language. I'm going to cheat. Okay, and then at this point here, we do the other bit. So, which was, I think. No. And then we repeat that. And then, so the second time through that would be a variation. So it'd be. Yes. I'm terrible at this style of piano playing. I'm really, really shocking. And I'm not quite sure why my input is so quiet on this thing. Okay, I'm actually clipping. Let's turn everything down a bit. Why am I clipping OBS? Yeah, we are clipping OBS. Maybe it's the clip that's doing that. Yeah, it was the clip. My God, I'm so bad at this kind of piano playing. Yeah, pretty lousy, but it gets the job done, and it's it's the kind of ideal length, and it's got some interesting harmony. So we talked about making it a little bit more modern, and maybe that's the thing that makes anthems so kind of dirgy and boring that we don't like them. The if I remember rightly, there was a new arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner done 4 years ago at Biden's inauguration, which was amazeballs. It was the best arrangement of that song I think I have ever heard. It was brilliant, and the performance was outstanding as well. But the arrangement was absolutely amazing. I loved it, and there was even a little bit of microtonal modulation that went on in the arrangement as well, as I remember rightly. But it would be it was brilliant. So we could certainly make this a little bit more modern with maybe something a little bit kind of maybe a nice little drum loop in here that's not kind of pa because we're not that kind of people, are we? So we could certainly do something that's a little bit more interesting drum rhythm wise, to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm not necessarily saying that we could be, trap hop or hip hop or anything like that, or urban, but we could certainly do something that's interesting rhythmically to give this a little bit more of a modern flavor. So something like that would be quite an interesting little rhythm, I think. So let's get our click back on. Helps if I actually started playing. Something like that. I'm going to lose that, and then I'm going to do select all, and here we go. Oops. I keep randomly doing things. That's why. Okay. Okay, maybe that didn't really work at all. Let's go for eighth notes instead. So let's do Control A. Okay. And then what we'll do here is we'll copy this just for now. And then somebody said about strings. Well, we can certainly do that. We can certainly do some strings from the PSO Contemporary Orchestra. Let's go for some big strings. This will do. That's definitely something we can do. I don't know what to do really. Some kind of counter melody or something like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of making it up, really. some other complete nonsense like that. So okay, I'm just gonna put some kind of counter melody in there. Let's set the thing there. Something like that. So, so there we go. We got like 4 minutes left. I might actually just shove all of that. Like, let's do Control A, and let's just shove all of this up an octave. Why not? Parts of that melody don't work. And then we could put another instance of the same orchestra underneath, providing, you know, some extra kind of harmony, maybe. Something like that. Let's see. Something like that. Yes, I vow to thee, my country, for a bacon sandwich. There we go. We have roughed out an improvised, very bad sounding national anthem for our little island of, what do you call it, Brett? June something? What was it called? Tunitalia? Tunitalia, something like that. I think is what you called it. So there we go. I basically just improvised that. And like I said, it's not really my style of music, and my piano playing in that style of music absolutely sucks like a vacuum cleaner. It really does. So for that, I am truly sorry. But hey, this was fun, and you guys suggested some fun little ideas. So I don't know whether this really is shareable because it's pretty terrible. But if you desperately want me to share this so that you guys can kind of improve it or add to it or make it more interesting and turn it into a full-fledged production of a national anthem, and even if you could think of some lyrics that we could have for it, have at it. If you want to do that, if that is something that you guys really want to do, then let me know, and I will make the stems for this available. I will just create I'll just save this to a zip file, and then you guys can have at it totally. I will put it on my Dropbox. I could put it in a workspace in Studio One Plus, but I think maybe I will just give this make this available as a downloadable link on Dropbox. And then if you want to create a workspace and gather some folks together to flesh this out into a full anthemic production, be my guest, go for it if that's what you'd like. But otherwise, that is it for tonight's Songwriting Simplified. We will be back on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. I'm really looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. You guys always ask the best Studio One questions, so please do ask the best Studio One questions now that I've said that. I really look forward to it. So until then, folks, I will bid you adieu, seeing as we're talking anthems and stuff like that, and I will do instead of doing our regular thing, the regular piece of music that I use, I will play you out with this new little anthem. Chris is asking, where is the link gonna be? I will, if you guys really want this, drop me an email. And then I can just send you a link to it if you really want it. Okay. But yeah, I personally don't think this is very shareable because it's a wee bit on the crap side. So if you are wanting to do something with it, by all means, and I'll make it available to you if you want it. Just drop me an email and say, hey, yes, I really do want that anthem so that I can flesh something together. But just bear in mind, the melody is mine. I made it. So, but you can add to it by all means. Okay, I have no problem with you guys adding different instruments and stuff like that. But essentially, the melody is kind of what I made. So, after show, we have an hour's break. I believe we have an hour's break. Yes, we do. In fact, we might even have 2 hours break. I'm not really sure. Is it 8 o'clock that, is it 8 o'clock Central for the Studio One meetup? Because if it is, that's in an hour's time. If it's 8 o'clock Central, it's in an hour's time. So if you are up for that, that will be 2 a.m. UK, 3 a.m. Central Europe. But it's, I think it's 8 p.m. I think for Ziggy's. Oh, it's 9 Eastern. Okay, so that's going to be in an hour's time. Yes. All right, so we got an hour's break, and then we got Ziggy's meetup. So that will be the end of the show, guys. And I will see you on Sunday or at Ziggy's meetup. We'll see. I may or may not be awake for it, but we'll see. All right, folks, I bid you a very good evening. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live, 6 p.m. Central. Same place, same time, same channel, same capital of the world. Good night, folks.